Sig Talks, episode 022, Dr. James Sigafoose's Chiropractic Report. Today's episode is brought to you by Sigafoose Weekly, a new self-consulting program from Sigafoose.com. It's a $75 per month program that gives you everything you need to make massive changes in your practice and in your personal life. The program consists of the Sigafoose Systems Manual with over 200 pages of office growth and procedures, a private Facebook room that is only for people who have subscribed to Sigafoose Weekly, so you have a worldwide network of like-minded people who are philosophy-minded chiropractors. And if that's not enough, you are also getting the weekly consultation call by Dr. James M. Sigafoose himself. You get all of this for $75 per month. So let me ask you this question: what's holding you back? Isn't it time you become the chiropractor you always knew you could be?
Hello, and welcome to Sig Talks with your host, Dr. Carrie Sigafoose, your home for the chiropractic philosophy, where we discuss the teachings of Dr. James Sigafoose, from his writings to his talks and his many audio presentations.
Hello. So far, we've looked at the pre-consultation video and the x-ray video. Today, we're going to listen to the Chiropractic Report video. Now, this video, which can be played and replayed over and over in your waiting room if you like, was made to do individual chiropractic reports or doctor's talks, whatever you like to call them. It is for when the doctor is out of town or if you are still not comfortable giving the talks. It is about 12 minutes long, and, well, it's pretty amazing. With that, I will turn it over to Dr. Sigafoose, and I will see you on the other side.
Let me introduce you to chiropractic. This is your opportunity. This is your opportunity to find out how you got sick, how you got well, how chiropractic works, and what's really going on, so that you have a complete understanding of what chiropractic is. If you look up here, you're going to see a circle, and that circle represents the brain. You see a circle on the bottom represents the body. We have a nerve leaving the circle from the top that conducts 100% life into the body. The body receives 100% life. It then sends a message from itself back up to the brain, so the brain can interpret that, and then it sends another message down to the body, always giving the body what it needs. So we have a complete circulation of information from the brain to the body and the body to the brain. And we call that a safety pin cycle because it looks like a safety pin. However, if the safety pin is open, then you can realize that the brain can't talk to the body. The body can talk to the brain, but there'll be no response. So that's essentially what a subluxation is. That's what a bone is when it's out of alignment, when it's out of place. It does the same thing. It stops the brain from talking to the body. The body can talk to the brain, but there can't be any response. So that's a serious problem called subluxation. You must remember that word. Now, if you look over here, what is chiropractic? I mean, how many people really think they know what chiropractic is? They think, well, it's a cracking in the neck, cracking in the back, or they do something to relieve pain, and it's none of the above. It's really something. Is it symptom care? Heck no, it's not symptom care. We told you in the beginning, we do not treat symptoms. Is it disease care? No, we're not in the business of treating disease. Is it preventive care? Well, let's say this. If your diet was right, you were exercising correctly, your brain could talk to your body, and your body could talk to your brain, you'd prevent a lot of problems that your body's going to entail. Wellness care. When you say chiropractic is wellness care, well, there again, if your spine is aligned, the nervous system is integral, you have a good diet and a good exercise program, then most certainly you're going to entertain wellness. Wellness is being, they're the capability of being healthy, which is the body replacing itself with healthy cells versus abnormal cells. If we ask you this, who's heard of stress? Who's sitting out here has ever heard of stress? Well, who hasn't? We realize that 3-year-old children have stress. We understand that nearly everybody has stress because it's a stressful place we live. People are afraid to go out at night. You get up in the morning, you read about wars, near wars, drive-by shootings, economical problems. We go out of our car and we drive down the road looking for a problem, and therefore we're in a state of stress. If we could understand exactly what stress is rising up to where we have a level of electrical current which is about 30 times greater than it ought to be. When we're normal, we're down in the same easy, nice level as the earth, the plants, and the animals, and all of these creatures. But when we get stressed out, we go up into this level because we're in a level of fear. We're at a level of protection. Your brain is your world, and it has two hemispheres that work back and forth. They talk back and forth 640 million messages per second to maintain balance in the body, to maintain balance in all of your function. As long as the brain is operating and you can get its message from the brain into the body has a good chance of doing all the things it was designed to do. But under stress, we shift to one side of the brain or the other, either the right or the left brain. It's automatic, meaning this: when we enter into stress, instead of us having two hemispheres working back and forth, we enter into the right hemisphere. We lock up there. That's our survival mechanism. That's fight or flight. We stay there because that's all we're going to concentrate on is survival. If we're in the right side, it affects the left side of the body. If we're in the left side, it affects the right side of the body because one side becomes weak. The other side remains strong. So visualize this. If we're locked up in the right side, then we're affecting the left side of the body, and the left side of the body gets strong. All the organs work overdue. We have muscles contracting. We have a short leg. We have everything on this side working stronger than this side. We're completely out of balance. You cannot function out of balance. In the strong side, your leg is short. The arm gets stronger. Even your dominant arm, if you were right-handed and you were in your right brain, your left arm would be stronger than your right because you're completely out of balance. The neck muscles tighten up from 1 to 5 in intensity. You can feel your neck. When you're driving in the snow or ice, you know the first thing you feel is up here. You get in heavy traffic, you feel it in your neck. You start to tighten up. That's where stress builds up, in the neck. The result is that the body, the skeleton, the muscles, the nerve system, and all the organs are out of balance. If they're out of balance, if one side is working more than the other side, if one side is stronger than the other side, if one part of your physiology is working very much and the other side isn't, most certainly you realize you cannot be in a state of health. We have energy in the form of electricity and chemistry flowing from the brain down the spinal cord in the form of motion, and the end product of this motion is information at the level of the cell. That's how the cell gets its information to function. That's how it knows when it's time to change itself. That's when it knows everything. Now, what happens is that because we have muscles on one side pulling versus muscles on the other side, we actually have bones in the spine being pulled out of alignment, called subluxation. And as a result of that, from the point of the subluxation, we have loss of motion. If we have loss of motion, we have lack of information at the level of the cell. Thus, we have dysfunction or disease developing at the cellular level that now goes to the organ, that now goes to the entire body. So the whole body, from the top to the bottom, is affected by this bone being out of alignment as a result of stress. So you can realize the importance of having your spine aligned, having your spine maintained aligned, having your brain be able to talk to your body and your body be able to talk to your brain. That's the end product of health. If we have that, we have the potential for health. The rheostat effect. All of you men and women, you have little rheostats. As a matter of fact, you can turn a little knob, makes your light get brighter or dimmer, turn it and makes your fan go faster or slower. All that's doing is going in over the field of electricity and reducing the amount of electricity to the end product. The rheostat effect in you is the same thing. When we have a bone out of alignment, we end up having one part of our body being very dim, not working very well, the other side being very bright and working normally or overworking, because once again we're out of balance. If you can visualize your car out of balance, how long do the tires last? If you can visualize your washing machine spinning around out of balance, you hear it thumping and bumping. We're not supposed to be out of balance. We're supposed to be balanced right and left. We're supposed to be nicely functioning from the right and left, from above down, inside out. You can't do that when you have a bone that's out of place. Now, when we have a balanced brain, you do that by balancing and aligning the spine. You move the bone in the spine. When you do, you have a surge of electricity that reboots this computer. That's exactly what you do with a computer. When it stops working, turn it off, turn it on, surge of electricity clears the computer. When you move these spinal bones, there's a surge of electricity going into the brain that boots or reboots the brain and clears it. And so that all systems become go. We reboot the brain, we have a balanced brain, right and left. All the systems are balanced. The weak side gets strong, the strong side gets weak. We have increased motion. We have maximum information to the body, which is the key. This body must receive information from the brain. Healing through replacing sick cells with normal cells is the end product. Is that better than taking a drug to hide a symptom? Is that better than cutting out something that has already been sick and died because it lost life and you didn't do anything about it? So the key here is to find the bone out of place, correct the bone, and allow the body to heal itself. Forget about this cricks, backaches, and strain stuff. Energy, as it flows from the brain down the spinal cord in a form of motion. The bottom line is information. We have normal function, and that's health. Is health feeling better? Of course not. You can take a pill and think you feel better, but health is the body having normal function and replacing itself with normal cells. Please get that in your head. If I were to say, what is health? Don't tell me feeling better, because that's not true. What is health? Normal function with the cells being able to recreate themselves normally. That's what health is. Nothing more, nothing less. So thus we have horizontal balance, so that the pelvis is balanced, and our legs are balanced, and our shoulders are balanced, and our head is on straight. And then we have vertical alignment. The bones aren't out of place. We are capable of sending messages from above down, inside out. And so health comes from above down, inside out. And as long as we have vertical alignment and horizontal balance, then we have normal potential. What is normal potential? That's your genetic potential to be 80%, 90%, 95% functional. And you can't do that if you have interferences. You can't do that if the spine is out of alignment. Everyone needs chiropractic. You know, I hear people come in and say, well, maybe I'll come in and my daughter will come in, but my wife doesn't need it, or my father doesn't need it, or my uncle doesn't need it. If they're alive, they need it. Everybody on planet Earth needs it, because 80% of all adults have a subluxation. If you can think about the number of falls that you've had as a child, the number of falls that you had during football, in wrecks, in the stress, and all of these conglomerate things that cause the problems within the body, they're there for all of us, so we all need chiropractic, and children included. My granddaughter, when she was first born, she came out of the uterus, and the very first thing I did was adjust her. My oldest son was adjusted when he was about 6 minutes old. We adjust our children to be sure that there's nothing in there that will stop our children from blooming into a beautiful person, not having mental or physical problems or neurological problems. You need to bring your children in. You need to see to it. That's a very important thing. Send in your family and friends. Test them to see if stress has them in a state of dysfunction. Lay them on the floor. Check their legs. Don't touch their legs. Just see which leg is short. If you find a short leg, go up and feel their neck and see if their neck is tight, with like a hemp rope with knots in it. If that's the case, get them in here. That's a very, very early sign that they have a problem. And I want to talk to you about fees. Our fees are reasonable, and our fees everyone can afford, and there's no reason for you not to be able to afford that. If in fact it's something that's going to bring back your life, what's that worth? I tell you the truth, you can't afford an adjustment. There's not enough money in the world to pay for an adjustment, because what we do is release life. What's your life worth? But I want to let you know this: if you have severe financial problems and you fall under one of 5 categories, then we'll look at you as a case in where we need to be able to help you. You're going to be in need of financial help. We're willing to do that, because we're not going to turn anybody away for lack of funds, but we're going to see to it that you pay an honest fee, and we're going to give you that in exchange. So send in your family, maintain your care, come in when you're supposed to come in, be adjusted on a regular basis, give it enough time to get these spinal bones aligned, give it enough time for the body to rebuild itself, and if you do all the things you need to do, then I can assure you that you're going to entertain much better health than you have in the past.
And we're back. So I'm hoping you can see that this is literally a spinal class. This is probably the most amazing DVD Dr. Sigafoose has ever made. Not only is it an excellent chiropractic report that you can use to educate your patients on a one-to-one basis, but it is a great learning tool for you, the doctor, to use and learn how to perform an office group doctor's talk. The flip chart that Dr. Sigafoose is using is also available, but we have updated it, and it is now a PowerPoint presentation. This report goes through everything from the safety pin cycle to the definition of stress, how the brain works, the difference in muscle strength from side to side, balance, energy, subluxation, lack of motion, dysfunction and disease, rheostat effect, definition of health, and the above, down, and inside out principle. And it ends the DVD with an explanation of who needs chiropractic and why we refuse no one for care, even if the patient has financial difficulties. You can see and hear how amazing this video is, and would make a great addition to your patient education regimen. I am going to try and use one of my father's old stories here to help explain how important it is to use a chiropractic report. It is my firm belief that by your patient taking the time to sit down and watch this video, and by giving this their undivided attention, it could change their life. It could save their life. It could save them from a large health crisis, both for them and their family. But in order for us to do that, we have to change their attitude. We have to change their attitude from what they think sickness really is and what causes sickness to what really causes sickness. We're going to change their attitude from what they think health is to what health really is. We have to change their attitude about chiropractic from what they think it is to what chiropractic really is. We have to change their attitude about how they care for themselves and their family. So in order for us to change our attitudes, we have to shift from one set of fixed ideas to a new set of ideas. And we have to take all our fixed ideas that we really believe, and we are going to let go of these beliefs, whether they are right or whether they are wrong. It's just something I believe. They are going to have to lay down their beliefs over here and listen and pick up some new ideas and maybe even a new set of belief systems. If they will do that, they can change. If they don't want to change, they really shouldn't be in your office, because if they like the way their health is, if they like the way their life is, if they like the way things are running for themselves, then they don't need to change. But if they need improved health, if they need a new life, if they need something different, something better, something more abundant, then they need to change their attitudes from what they are to what we are going to be explaining to them. So stay with me and enjoy this, because it could save their life. My father was traveling, as he did, all over the world, and wherever it is that he went to carry the message of chiropractic. And on this particular trip, he was leaving Atlanta and going from Atlanta to Chicago, and Chicago on to San Francisco. On this trip, he was running a little late, and he was hustling through the Atlanta airport. And even though he was late, his nose picked up an aroma that made him stop in his tracks. And that aroma was chocolate, and it smelled like chocolate chip cookies to him. So when he found where the smell was coming from, he traipsed on over and found a little old lady baking chocolate chip cookies, and he fell in love with her cookies. And he said to her, "Can I have a cookie?" She said, "Well, I can't sell you one cookie. I have to sell you a bag of cookies." And my father said, "Well, I'll take a bag. I'll take a bushel of them." It didn't make a difference to him. So she gave him a bag of cookies, and she put them in a little white bag and stapled it 3 times. He took those cookies and he ran through the rest of the airport like a sprinter and finally caught his plane. When he got on, most of the people were seated. He normally would sit up front, but this time he sat at the front of the coach section, right up against the bulkhead. And there were 3 seats on this side, and his seat was right on the aisle. The middle seat was empty, and there was a sweet little older lady sitting all by herself next to the window. And he looked at her, and she was so well dressed and dignified looking. She looked so gentle and so nice, and he kept thinking, what a sweet person. Well, I'll probably enjoy my trip with her. So he sat down, and he sat his cookies down, and he took his suit jacket off, and he folded it up. He was going to put it in the overhead, but he decided at the last moment, I won't do that because that will make it all wrinkly. I'll just lay it in the middle, and if anyone comes at this late time, and he doubted it, I'll just pick it up. Well, he laid it down, sat down, and strapped himself in, and the plane took off. Nobody else came along, and as they were flying along, he reached over, picked up a magazine, and started reading it. And he got to thinking about those cookies. And he said to himself, gosh, I want to get me a cookie. He looked over, and there was his white bag. He reached over, opened it up, and reached into it and took a cookie. He took a nice bite out of it, and it was everything he thought it was going to be. It was delicious. It was just magnificent. But when he took a bite, he heard the bag rattle, and he looked over, and there was this little old lady. She had her hand in his cookie bag. She reached in and took a cookie. He thought, well, maybe she's hungry. Maybe she's having a low sugar attack, or maybe she's just a cookie thief. She could have asked him, but she didn't. It didn't make any difference, so they flew on for a while. He finished his cookie, and he thought about another one. He reached in and he took out another cookie, and when he took a bite of that cookie, he looked out over the corner of his eyes, and lo and behold, she had her hand in his bag again. She never once asked him. She didn't say thank you. She didn't have any conversation with him. She just kept eating his cookies. Well, that went on for a little while. So the plane finally landed, and as she was getting off, she was facing him as she walked in front of him, and he looked up at her and said, "Weren't they good cookies?" She looked down and went, "Plumph." She pushed past him, stomped off the plane. Immediately, his whole attitude changed and shifted from that being a nice, sweet, dear lady to an old bag that he hoped, as a matter of fact, got diarrhea and had a bad case of hiccups from eating all his cookies. He shifted clear over from that of being a nice, sweet lady to a nasty lady, to somebody he didn't really care about, and he was hoping that she would be punished in some manner for taking his cookies. I know that's sort of a lousy attitude, but you can see how he changed. Well, he was stewing about that, and he was still concerned about that lady doing that to him. Then people started coming on the plane, and it was filling up for the next leg off to San Francisco. People were coming on, and somebody sat in the window seat, and he knew somebody was going to sit in the middle seat at any moment. So rather than wait, he just reached over and picked up his jacket and looked back where his jacket was, and guess what was there? There was a bag of cookies, a big white bag of cookies. He picked up the bag, looked down, and thought, my goodness, what a sweet woman. His attitude just shifted again, all the way back to that dear sweet lady who shared half of her cookies with him. You see, he was eating her cookies. She never said a word. She said humph at the end and stomped off. But do you see how his attitude shifted from where he liked her to where he didn't like her? And when he realized what he had done, he liked her again. So that's what you've heard today. The chiropractic report that my father gave us, not only a way to educate your patients about what chiropractic is, it is a way to change their views on what they thought chiropractic was. I realize that this was a long-winded way to describe what the chiropractic report is, but I'm trying to change the way you are thinking as to the importance of either giving a chiropractic report or using a video like the one my father made to educate your patients and to help you streamline your practice so that all of your patients are getting the same information every time, and a way to help them change their attitudes, change their way of thinking as to what chiropractic is. As always, this video and all the others are available on Sigafoose.com for immediate digital download. If you want to see what the videos are like, you can also head to the blog page on Sigafoose.com and watch a few of the actual clips of the patient education videos. The name of the blog is Patient Education Videos, Educating Your Patients from Day One. With that, I will say goodbye and hope that you have the most amazing week ever. Next week, we will be reviewing Dr. Sigafoose's symptoms video. Probably one of my favorite videos, simply because every time the patient says the word, my symptoms, you show them this video. Until next week, take care and have a blessed day. Bye.
Thank you for joining us today. If you're interested in more of Dr. Sigafoose's material, head on over for your daily dose of chiropractic philosophy to www.sigafoose.com and register for our free newsletter and to find today's audio clip of Dr. Sigafoose in its entirety. Remember to give, love, do, and serve.